Hello and welcome to a new series of Four Wheels Good. Later in the show, Steve Vokins will be enjoying the much applauded curves of the Peugeot 406 Coupe, while Barbara Armstrong will be telling us about her experience as part of the SEAT rally team. We'll also be focusing on Korean car value, and John Wright will be continuing to fix the brakes on his Peugeot. Well, who'd have thought? A new set, a new presenter, a new programme length. But not everything that's new is necessarily good. Every weekend I bump into classic car fanatics who proudly profess that they don't make up like they used to. And sometimes I meet someone who could just be right. Ah, this is the life, cruising along the leafy Cheshire country lanes in a beautiful car. It's trouble-free motoring at its best. And after 63,000 miles and almost 70 years, this original Vauxhall Princeton Tourer, affectionately known as TU because of the number plate, has amazingly broken down only once.
It's only on its second set of tyres now.
How do you manage to keep it running then?
With the goodwill of friends. You've got to have a good mechanic and a top engineer for it.
Vauxhall recognised TU to be unique because after being in the same family for 70 years, it's in its original form. Doris's husband bought the car back in 1926 for just £495. And since his death, this 87-year-old retired schoolteacher is a familiar sight on the country lanes of Delamere. Will you ever sell this car, Doris?
No.
Why?
I couldn't. He asked me to keep it. I'd lose all my boyfriends.
How many times have people offered to buy this car from you?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. The latest one is a man who works for the Ministry of the Interior in Bahrain. He says his money's in the Swiss bank waiting for it.
What's the reaction to the car from the villagers?
Oh, the villagers, especially the children, love it. If they can get in the car and do this, that's just what they want.
How do you feel now when you drive the car?
At peace with the world.
What happened to this car during the war, during the rationing years?
It was on the lawn. We had a small one running, but with no petrol for this one.
You really enjoy driving this, don't you, Doris?
Thoroughly enjoy it. And I enjoy taking people out in it.
I don't suppose you'd let me have a drive of it, would you?
Yes, I might if it was a straight road.
Will you teach me how to drive
And provided you let me stop if I want to get out.
Oh, absolutely. There were 3,500 of these made in Luton between 1923 and 1927, and there are just under 80 left in existence, most of them in museums. But this car is unique because it's been in the same family since new, and it's particularly special because it's in its original condition. But cars like this need some looking after, and the man who looks after this little beauty is Keith. Now, Keith, taking the wheel off.
Yes, good. Yes,
What is it about cars of this age, do you think?
Oh, they're rugged and they're repairable. As you know, you can...
And very basic.
Yes.
I mean, talk me through that engine block. It's 2.3 litres, I know, but it doesn't seem to be much of it.
No, well, it's just a very compact little four-cylinder engine with an updraft carburettor, and the float is sensitive to perforation. So it needs fairly regular checking. It's very simple though. You can undo it like that, and I'll turn the petrol on here, and we'll see that if that float comes up, we know it's not perforated and it's working. So now there she is, it's come up, so that's all right.
Of course, you can't just nip into a Vauxhall dealership and buy the spares off the shelf, can you?
No, it's amazing though how everything can be taken apart and looked at, and when you find out what is really worn, it's some small part that you can either rebuild or get from the club or get from somebody else or just end up making.
So you make a lot of the spares
Yes,
yourself?
we've made a few little pieces for it, but not much. This car's required very little in the time that I've been associated with it.
How much longer do you think this particular car will survive?
Oh, I can't see. I think indefinite is the only word. As long as there's somebody who will take care of it, it'll go on forever.
My turn to have a go at last. I've been looking forward to this. It does take a bit of getting used to because obviously it's heavy and a huge steering wheel, but a very impressive gearbox apart from the lack of synchromesh. I'm doing 20 miles an hour now, but I'm told that that 2.3 litre engine will take me to a top speed of 60. I think I'll just take the word for it.
Don't go too fast. Down from that stop. Oh, you did very well. Oh, my, I'm quite jealous.
A double D clutch, do you see?
No, my arms aren't as good as they used to be. I give you full marks. I did go quite a long way with you.
70 years in the same family gives a real new meaning to one lady owner. I only hope that in 70 years' time, my own car is going this well. Ah, the old Vauxhall President Tourer. They don't make them like that anymore. Oh, she's got me at it now. Of course, over the years, from when that car was first unveiled as an automotive breakthrough, obviously there have been quite a few technological achievements. But the thrill of the driving experience doesn't need to diminish, as Steve Vokins found out while driving a Peugeot 406 Coupe.
18 months ago, Peugeot gave us this, the 406, their mid-range family saloon. It was an instant success with the press, the buying public, and more importantly, the fleet buyers. Now, based on that success, Peugeot are introducing this, the new 406 Coupe, designed and built by Pininfarina. Its looks are drop-dead gorgeous.
The 406 Coupe has got a number of worthy competitors in the marketplace. The key volume models, both the Ford Probe and the Calibra, are both aging, so I think that we can discount those. I think the 406 Coupe is going to stand up very well against more expensive models simply because it's such a fabulous expression of style, and that's what people are buying into, and that's why it's going to be successful. The gadgets, as far as the 406 Coupe are concerned, are fabulous, and the two that I suppose I would pick out, because people seem to express terrific interest in them, is first of all, when you open the door window pops down about ½ an inch, and when you close it, it pops up again automatically to create a wonderful seal because it's a frameless door. And the second point, when you open the door and you want to let rear passengers into the car, you flick the squab forward and the whole seat slides on a little electric motor. Wonderful to watch. When you flick it back, it slides back again. You've got rain-sensitive windscreen wipers and other things, but those two, I think, are the things that the gimmick lovers will really enjoy. Our relationship with Pininfarina goes back around 46 years now, and we've turned to them as a partner when we want something distinctive and different off our mainline design. If you're a designer and you've developed the 406, you think that's a perfect car. To turn to that same team and say, now do a coupe off it, you don't get that natural feel for doing a completely different expression of the car than you would if you go to a different design house. Pininfarina have been wonderful for us, and this 406 Coupe is the very best expression of their work.
Well, I've seen a fair amount of Warwickshire country lanes this afternoon, and I must say, on a day as sweltering as this, I was very glad to have the air conditioning. While everyone else was sweltering, I was cool as ice in there. Did I like the car? Well, yes, I did actually. It's not a rocket ship, but it's certainly no sluggard. It's very nicely appointed inside and it handles really well. The engine's really responsive, and all in all, it gives a very good feel to it. So what don't I like? Well, the only thing I really don't like is this immobiliser pad. Every time you get in the car and turn the engine on, you have to punch in your number on the pad before the thing will start. This 406 from Peugeot is the latest addition to the coupe market, a growing marketplace. It'll be interesting to see how the market takes to it, but I for one like it and give it full marks.
Steve Vokins with a 406 Coupe, a car that's a little different for perhaps that man who's a little different. You know, it's a strange thing about cars, how some people would not even consider one of the expanding choices of Korean cars around. It's not that there's anything particularly wrong with them, they're just considered by many to be bland in the old styling department. However, there are people in this world who prefer an anonymous looking car. And if that's you, a new or used Korean car can represent tremendous value for money. Nicky Fox and I went out to test the Proton and the Persona. Head-to-head this week, a pair engineered in Asia. The Proton Persona 1.6 XLI alongside the Mitsubishi Charisma 1.6 GLX.
And pay attention, you jargon lovers. Both claim to be value-for-money packages designed to impact the upper-medium sector.
Bemused? Focus, if you can, on the early morning commuter traffic and you'll soon make sense of the marketing jargon. Mitsubishi and Proton have set their sights on the large and lucrative land occupied by Vectras, Mondeos and Lagunas.
Are you ready to break with established driving tradition and put one of these new names on your drive?
This Proton 5-door costs £12,350 and can be had with a choice of 4 engine sizes and as a 4-door saloon. Its origins are quite straightforward. It's built in Malaysia, although the early Protons were based on Mitsubishis made in Japan.
This is a Mitsubishi, but it's not built in Japan. It's made in Holland on the same line as the Volvo S40, which is of course Swedish.
And the gearbox for the Mitsubishi is supplied by Renault, which of course, despite my accent, is French.
Confusing, isn't it? But never mind. The price of a basic 1.6 GLX Charisma is £12,500 and it also comes as a 5-door or a 1.8.
Both these cars are almost £2,000 less than a 1.6 Mondeo. But are they value for money?
Cars at this price weren't built to electrify, but at least the Mitsubishi's easy to come to terms with. The seating's comfortable and the ride and steering perfectly adequate. Renault's done a very nice job with the gearbox, and the clutch, brakes and throttle feel as though they come from a more expensive car. The engine's willing and the whole combination makes it feel quicker than the claimed 0 to 60 of just under 12 seconds.
The Proton squeezes a few more horses out of its 16-valve engine and feels a little nippier than the Mitsubishi, although the ride is more harsh. And the clutch doesn't feel that smooth when pulling away from rest. Still, the power steering is as good as the Charisma's, and the Proton wins in the braking department. Discs all round and ABS as standard.
This particular Charisma also has ABS, but it's an extra. Yes, the basic car is £12,500 on the road, but add the full diamond option pack with electric sunroof, passenger airbag and the ABS, and your Mitsubishi will cost a serious £1,600 more, so be careful when comparing prices.
On the other hand, the Proton Persona is a perfect example of Eastern all-in pricing. You get what you see. The looks, well, you please yourself. The alloy wheels and the manual sunroof come as standard, but I think I'd prefer an electric mirror and 4 electric windows. One nice touch though is the height adjustable driver's seat, although overall I get the feeling that the Malaysian parts bin was put together in the bargain basement, especially when it comes to controls and switches. Oh!
The Charisma looks rather nice, but the side view is spoiled by this styling kit attached to the sills, which looks like an afterthought. Still, it does have 4 electric windows as standard and the electric mirrors, and the dash does a fair job of telling you you're in a more stylish car. But there's the problem with both the Mitsubishi and the Proton. Too many extras and not quite enough fundamental style.
Both manufacturers know how hard it is to persuade potential customers to try something new, so both cars have an excellent no-string 3-year warranty and claim to hold their value very well.
But watch out when it comes to insurance. Surprisingly, the Proton is typically Group 11, this Charisma a more friendly insurance Group 7. Whichever car you might prefer, you're more likely to see the Charisma on the road. Because it's built in the EC, Mitsubishi can just whiz them across the channel. But the Proton, coming in from Malaysia, has its numbers limited by import quotas.
It has to be said that some car names are unfortunate. The Proton doesn't have a powerful persona, and equally the Mitsubishi is lacking in charisma. But if budget is uppermost in your mind, then there's certainly two sensible cars worth looking at. And next week, Nicky and I will be taking a classic Singer and pitting it against a modern Citroën. A joke? No. Watch next week's Four Wheels Good and you'll understand our reasoning. OK, after the break, what thrills are there for a perky young lady in the gruelling world of rally driving? And John Wright will be inviting us into his garage in this week's Inside Motors feature. Join us soon. Welcome back to the all-new Four Wheels Good, the weekly motoring programme that celebrates all forms of four-wheel activity. Take rallying, a great sport for people who enjoy thrashing the hell out of a car along tracks and who have a knack for splitting their brain between concentrating on driving and listening to their companion's instructions. Well, it's a bit like me here, really, in a TV studio. I'm talking to you, and they're talking to me in the... What? What? Yeah, it's all right, I'll get on with it. Our Richard Warren met up with a member of the SEAT rally team, Barbara Armstrong, to ask what she gets out of this sport.
Well, it's very unusual to see a young lady doing very well in the very masculine-dominated field of motor rallying, but I have with me Barbara Armstrong, who's actually come up through the ranks to become one of the most successful lady drivers in the country. Well, Barbara, how did you actually start getting involved in rally driving from the start?
Basically, when I left school, went to agricultural college, and then I worked on my dad's farm, and all other boys above me had rally cars. So it was when you're 17 and you pass your test, I must have one. So I started rally driving then, and all the boys helped me. And then in 1989 I progressed up to a one-make series, and I did that for a couple of years. So I was lucky that we did racing and rallycross and also tarmac events in Europe. And then after that I came here to Silverstone to teach rally driving. I thought it'd be easier to teach rally driving and get paid for it than to trash about in my own rally car.
What sort of advice can you give to any young ladies out there who are thinking of actually following in your footsteps?
Try and get yourself into a one-make series. Next year SEAT's doing a challenge for 1998, and you want to get in something like that because that's how people determine how good you are in Britain. That's how you get ranked. When I did it years ago, we did it with a manufacturer, and there's 120 cars out in those days, and there was people like Richard Burns in it, Colin McRae started in it, and a lot of other young drivers, and that's how you were all sort of put on the scale in motorsport. So you need to get yourself in a big challenge and just keep plodding on. So yeah, eventually somebody will spot you, like what happened to me, and bring you on, but you have to wait a long time. Sometimes you don't, sometimes you do. I mean, I waited, 11 years before I eventually got a works drive. Over the age of 25 you struggle a bit because all the scholarships have already gone, and I sort of semi-gave up then and came here to Silverstone and started teaching, but I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. So yeah, just keep going and somebody will be watching.
A spunky lady. Well, talking of rallying, we'll be continuing the story of our own Mark Nuttall and his saga of car conversion and rally testing at a Norwegian rally school in future weeks of Four Wheels Good. But for someone who enjoys a car in bits rather than in one piece, we have to turn to John Wright, working all the hours God sends in his lonely garage, showing us the tips and techniques to get inside motors.
Oh, hello, you've caught me doing a bit of work here. Right, welcome once again to Inside Motors. This Peugeot 309's had a problem with its rear brakes. These are the old ones we've taken off. As you can see, they're down to the metal. That's why I was making a heck of a lot of noise. Right, we've already started the job, and we've stripped off the old brakes as you can see, everything's clear, and we're just cleaning up roundabout, ready to fit the new ones. There we are, that's finally cleaned it up. These are the new shoes. And that's how they fit in there. Now where they rub against the metal, what we're going to do is put just a little bit of grease to so they run better. Pop a little dab of grease on there. And it really is just a smear. You don't want too much grease lying around with any braking component. Right, the brakes have basically got to be fitted in sequence. And the first little trick is the handbrake cable's got to be fitted over the handbrake rod. And what we do here is, using a pair of pliers, is move the spring out of the way, pinch it back using the pliers, and just slip the cable in and then let go. That saves you a lot of heartache with that one. We'll get the second shoe, and that fits in there like that. Right, this is the self-adjustment rod that fits in there, and that we've already greased up and made free running. And that fits in there like that, and then that way round fits around there, that there, fit it in there, and then bring the adjustment rod up, fit it in the clip, and just fulcrum them down like that, and then fit the shoes into the position that they're to go.
Don't you just love the way he works with those rubber gloves to keep his hands clean? Either that, or John's a frustrated surgeon. We'll get the latest on the Peugeot Patient next week, and classic car guru John Stanley will be driving a contemporary car that may well turn out to be a future classic, the Renault Spider. Well, it's time to go, but we'll leave you with a very nice motor from Mercedes. If all the fuss putting the hood down on the 30,000 SLK fills you with gloom, then the excellent CLK would be just the ticket. Enjoy these lines, and I'll see you next week.